Hey everybody, this is Angel with Alternative Health with Angel, and I wanted you to see my face really quick before I start in on our fertility and pregnancy prep PowerPoint. So let me go ahead and share my screen, get started here. So we're going to be talking about pregnancy prep, nutrition and lifestyle strategies to help with pregnancy prep and make sure that you can have the best pregnancy possible. First off, I need to let you know that I'm not a medical doctor nor a psychiatrist. The views are my own. Make sure to not make any changes to your medications or supplements without talking to your healthcare provider. And do know that the FDA has not been evaluated this program. So I am Angel Hill. I have more than a dozen years experience in alternative health, and I've served about 7,000 clients through that time. So I really have a lot of experience in dealing with all kinds of things, including fertility. If you want to know more about what I do and what degrees I have, you can go to LinkedIn and check out all my degrees and certifications. And I do have an online program now with Alternative Health with Angel. But now we're going to talk about fertility. So what is fertility? Functional fertility is a systems-based approach to both male and female. So that is something I really want to focus in on. We need to work with both partners when we're talking about fertility, not just one. And we want to look at nutritional, lifestyle, and psychological components. And this means that we have to get to the root cause of what could be causing any infertility, or root cause of just what be causing you not to have a perfect pregnancy. Because that's what we want, right? Almost perfect, because nothing's perfect, but we want to try to get there. And the time to do that is now. It takes the sperm and the eggs about 3 months to mature. So we really want to work on that even before then, right? We really want to make sure that these things are set and ready to go when we're trying to have a baby. And signs of a healthy fertility in women are a 28-day menstrual cycle. We want to have that cervical mucus around ovulation. We want to have healthy libido, and we want to make sure that basal body temperature increases around ovulation. So those are the kinds of things we're looking at for signs of fertility. But what makes a sperm strong? Well, we're looking for quantity. We need about 15 million or more to make sure it's healthy. Movement, you want about 40% of them to be really strong swimmers. And the shape, they need to have round heads and long tails. And unfortunately, what is happening is something that doctors have termed spermageddon. And spermageddon is where sperm levels in men in the Western countries has been gone in half, and it could be depleted by 2045. So what we're saying basically is men do not have strong sperm anymore. It's about half of what it used to be just 50 years ago. So we really need to look at that and how can we get the sperm stronger? And that is definitely part of what I help do. Now, the top causes of infertility. The first one is ovulatory dysfunction. That is what we most commonly always kind of agree on, that we see a lot. And it includes basically any event that affects the release of the egg from the ovaries. This could be PCOS, it could be stress, even over exercising can do it. Toxin exposures, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, nutrition deficiencies, hormone imbalances, and underweight or overweight can cause these dysfunctions. Hormone imbalances, and this is for male and female, could be coming from thyroid issues. We see that a lot. PCOS, again, so that's something that kind of comes through. Cortisol and insulin issues, which is part of my hormone framework we're going to talk about later. And endometriosis can cause this as well. Obviously not with males, but definitely with females. So on the nutrition deficiencies, fertility and healthy ovulation depend on adequate protein, healthy fats, fruits and vegetables, just kind of like our whole body does, right? And these foods provide the necessary nutrients we need to be able to conceive. And our body, when it has those nutrients, knows that, okay, the body is safe. We are not in a time of war, or we're not going to be running away from dinosaurs. So our body is safe to have a baby. Does that make sense? So women with normal blood sugar levels actually have a greater likelihood of conceiving than those with blood sugar imbalances or insulin resistance. And unfortunately, a lot of times things like insulin resistance are hard to find, hard to nail down, because people don't realize they have them. There's tests that doctors don't run, for instance, fasting insulin, really inexpensive, a way to find out if you have insulin resistance, but it's just not something we do much in this country. And so you could have abnormal blood sugar issues and not even know it. And stress is another big thing. Your body might be sending a message that the environment isn't safe to carry a baby right now. We were just talking about that with food, but that can also happen with stress. And stress can be emotional, physical, mental triggers. And all that affects hormone production, ovulation, cortisol levels, blood pressure, digestion, energy production. So stress is really a big part of this. Now, when stress levels increase, your body produces stress hormones, cortisol, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. and your fertility hormones take a back seat to survival. So this is your body saying, we got to survive over creating a baby. A baby isn't as important as your survival. It's basically what the body is saying there. So you just have to really kind of think about that when it comes to stress. That's a big deal. If your body's too stressed to have a baby, we have to really look at your lifestyle and look at ways that we can help bring that stress down. And stress response is highly complex. It's designed to keep you alive and safe, but it can't tell the difference between you needing to pay a bill and a dinosaur chasing you. You know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, we had the situation where we still had these stress responses from way back, but these new things are causing these stress responses, and our body still hasn't figured out how to deal with all that yet. And so underweight and overweight, we discussed that earlier. To make hormones, your body needs a certain amount of body fat, a certain percentage. And this is one reason why many women tend to have higher body fat percentages than men, because we have to carry those babies. And too little, we don't have enough of those building blocks to produce the hormones, and we can't sustain the pregnancy. But if we have too much body fat, that can complicate things as well. It causes insulin issues, inflammatory issues, all that. So both ways, underweight or overweight, can cause issues with fertility. And unexplained fertility issues. Unfortunately, I'm sure some people who are listening to this have been told this from their doctor, unexplained fertility issues. Well, I like to think about it as they're unexplained right now, but they will be explained eventually. We will eventually get to it. So it's not unexplained forever. But commonly, if a couple has been trying to conceive for at least a year, and they've done all the routine conventional fertility tests and have normal results, that's when they usually come up with unexplained infertility. I will say that when we talk about that, we're talking about conventional doctors, functional doctors, alternative doctors. We have other ways of looking at things too that may not come up with unexplained infertility. But generally speaking, unexplained fertility is an elimination of other more obvious causes of infertility. So we can't figure out what's wrong with you, so we're going to call it unexplained. That's kind of where all that goes. Now, health issues that are taken into consideration for infertility are HPA and HPO dysfunction. So let's talk about that for just a second. HPA is hypothalamus pituitary axis. That's commonly known as adrenal issues or cortisol issues. And then HPO dysfunction, and that's hypothalamus pituitary ovarian dysfunction. And so that hypothalamus pituitary axis, they call it, it has a lot to do with our health issues, whether it's ovarian or cortisol adrenal issues. Autoimmunity can also have a big play when it comes into a pregnancy. Hormone imbalances, nutritional deficiencies, like we talked about earlier, inflammation, environmental exposures, and gut issues. So these are all the kind of things that can come into play for men and women when we're talking about infertility. So what can you do to prep for the baby, right? Well, first off, I want to talk about testing. When we talk about conventional testing versus functional testing, conventional doctors are looking for a disease-centered. They're looking to manage the disease. They want everybody treated the same way. You know, this person has this in their blood work, we're going to give them this. That's the way it is. They look at as few markers as possible because they're trying to save money and also time. And they'll say things like, your numbers look great, nothing's wrong with your thyroid, but people are having crazy thyroid symptoms. So that's kind of how conventional testing looks at it. Functional testing or alternative testing, like what I do, we're looking for optimal health. We're not looking for just disease, but we're looking for ways to make you feel better. We want to prevent or reverse disease. We don't want to say to you, this is never going to go away. And we do it personalized to you. Just because one person had that thing work for them or not work for them doesn't mean that's not going to work for you. We need to really look at you as a human being, and separate from everybody else. Things are just going to work different for you. We also want to look for root causes. What is actually causing this? Instead of taking a medicine to just completely take away the symptoms but not fix the problem, we want to actually fix the problem. And so go back to that thyroid issue we talked about earlier. Well, I see a lot of things called subclinical hypothyroidism. And basically that's when a conventional doctor says, oh no, you don't have this disease. You don't have any thyroid issues. And functional doctors look at that and go, well, you've got some subclinical hypothyroidism. There's definitely something going on that we can take care of it. So it's just different ways of looking at things. So my hormone heaven framework looks at it from a mineral standpoint. Minerals are the spark plugs to our hormones. And if we don't have minerals, our hormones are not going to do what they're supposed to. And when it comes to minerals, we are not getting them nearly as much in our diet as we used to. In fact, we talked about that spermageddon being like 50 years ago, we're about half. Well, that's kind of where we're at with minerals now. We have about half the minerals we used to have, unfortunately, in our soil. We have farmed them out, so we're just not getting them anymore. So we're seeing a lot of long-term effects from that. But first, what I like to do in this framework is really just get those minerals set. And then what we do is we work on cortisol, which is the adrenal we talked about earlier, and then the insulin, then thyroid and sex hormones. And these have to work on top of each other. So if the minerals are not balanced, then the cortisol can't be balanced. If the cortisol is not balanced, then the insulin can't be balanced. So see, it's a step. We have to do this in steps in order to get where we need to go. So one of the first things and easiest things you can do is when you wake up in the morning, drink 8 ounces of water before you do anything else. Add a squeeze of lemon and a quarter teaspoon of salt to that. Sea salt helps reduce cortisol and adrenaline by preventing dehydration. And when you get that high quality sea salt, it's going to help you get your minerals. So you're starting the day with those first 2 things in my framework. You're getting your cortisol set and you're getting your minerals taken care of a little bit. We're going to talk about the minerals a little bit more, but this is a really good way to just get that hydration into your body and really get the adrenals going in the morning. The adrenals actually need more salt than any other organ that we have. And so by giving it that sodium first thing in the morning, we're really giving those adrenals that kick they need to get the day started. Now, for your second glass of water, and this is where I was talking about the minerals a little bit more, is you really want to do some electrolytes. Now, this is if you haven't had your minerals checked. If you've had your minerals checked, then we can actually work on a personalized program for your minerals. But if we're just trying to really get you where you need, just some basic stuff, you want to start with some electrolytes. My favorite is this Paleo Valley Essential Electrolytes. It's really clean, no food coloring in it, no sugar. But I actually have a list of about 7, I think it is, electrolytes that are really clean. So if that's something you're interested in, just go ahead, and at the end, I'll give you my email and everything, and you can get a hold of me and I can send that list to you. But the electrolytes, what they do is they actually encourage healthy hormone levels because minerals are the baseline for hormones, those Fox clubs. So these are going to definitely help with the hormone levels. They help encourage exercise performance, brain function, mood issues, and your immune system. And what you're doing when you get electrolytes, when you get a good electrolyte, you're getting calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. And those are the 4 foundational minerals that we have. And if we can get those balanced, it really helps downstream to get all the other minerals balanced. So that's why it's really a good idea to do these electrolytes, at least first in the morning. And then if you do any kind of personalized testing, we may find that you need them more during the day. But just as a basic, everybody could use this first thing in the morning. Now, you also want to balance your blood sugar. If I had a magic wand, I would make sure that everybody eat protein for their first meal of the day. It is so extremely important. It sets your blood sugar levels for the day. We're going to look at how that looks like in just a second. But you want to look at getting between 15 to 30 grams of protein first thing. So whatever your first meal is, even if you're intermittent faster, you want that first meal to have some protein. You also want to avoid liquid sugars, sweet tea, soda, ice cream, sports drinks, pre-workouts, anything like that. Liquid sugars go directly into your body and start causing havoc. And this is what it looks like, folks. Right here, we get this roller coaster going on, this blood coaster roller coaster up and down. So these spikes in blood sugar are what we want to avoid. And when we can have that protein for the first meal of the day, that really helps us avoid a lot of them through the day. So say you have protein for the first meal of the day, and you eat something maybe you shouldn't eat at the end of the day, it's still going to spike, but maybe not as high since you had that protein earlier in the day. Or if you're eating something later in the day, you're really not supposed to, maybe you eat a little protein with that to help keep it down. Some blood sugar hacks. If you know Glucose Goddess, she's awesome. Follow her on Instagram. I got these from her. She is amazing. But you can do vinegar before a meal. You can do it in a drink or on top of food. I like to put apple cider vinegar on top of my eggs. But any kind of vinegar is good. I will say this, balsamic vinegar has a little bit too much sugar, so that's not going to be helpful for the blood sugar hack. And white vinegar is mainly just for cleaning. I wouldn't put it in your body, so don't add that vinegar to your food. Think about eating your veggies first, or have them as an appetizer. So like my husband and I, we like to eat veggies with hummus that we make or guacamole that we make. So that's a really good idea to get those veggies in first, because that helps tap down those blood sugars again. After you eat, if you can walk for 10 minutes, that's another way to get those blood sugars down. And so what you want to think about is you want to do that water with the lemon and the salt. Then you want to do your electrolytes, food, then coffee, because caffeine actually spikes your glucose levels if you consume them before food. So you want to make sure when you have that morning cup of coffee or tea, you want to make sure you're doing it with food, so we're not spiking those blood sugars. Now, thyroid and fertility, I mentioned earlier, thyroid is a big factor when it comes to fertility. And according to the American Academy for Clinical Chemistry, overt thyroid disease affects approximately 5% of American women of reproductive age. And about 1% of pregnancies are impacted by full-blown hypothyroidism. I would say that that number is probably higher than that. That's just what they've been able to estimate. But subclinical hypothyroidism, which we talked about earlier, affects up to 15% of pregnancies. So this is really where I see things. People come to me, they say, my doctor said my thyroid's fine. I'm still not getting pregnant. What's going on? And it's this subclinical hypothyroidism that's happening. Now, hypothyroidism has not only been implicated in failure to ovulation, but it's also been shown to influence progesterone production, estrogen metabolism, the circulating levels of our sex hormone binding globulins, just many types of things. So thyroid issues can cause miscarriages, placental abruptions, hypertension, preeclampsia, anemia, and even hemorrhages. So we just want to really make sure our thyroid is in great shape. Pregnancy increases your risk for thyroid disease, however. So one of the things I see is after people have their babies, they have what I call, or a lot of people call, depletion. They're nutritionally depleted from the baby because the baby has pulled everything out of them. And then on top of that, they'll have thyroid issues, which they have never had before, because this, pregnancy is definitely a factor in this, because it causes the thyroid issues. Now, not everybody this happens to, but it definitely happens to a lot of people. And so they'll start getting symptoms like weight gain, fatigue, depression, anxiety, and it's all to this subclinical thyroidism that conventional doctors, unfortunately, are not recognizing. Now, pregnancy also increases our risk for autoimmune disease besides fertility, including Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid issue. We know that the risk of autoimmune disease is much higher in the first year after vaginal delivery. And according to one study, 44.3% of women who develop an autoimmune disease have an onset after their first year of pregnancy. So that is crazy numbers. If you didn't have Hashimoto's before pregnancy, you might want to test again after, because you could definitely be having that afterwards, and it could be part of your postpartum health issues. And that is definitely something you would want to see a functional doctor like myself about. So what can you do for your thyroid? Well, you want to have a complete thyroid check. You want to make sure you get all 7 components checked. You want to have someone look at your thyroid results through a functional lens. That means looking at it through optimal health rather than looking at it as, is this the disease that we have going on? And 3, you want to balance those minerals, cortisol, insulin, before the thyroid can even be optimized. We have 3 things we have to take care of before you can even work on the thyroid. So it's definitely a way to get there. We're going to talk about that now. So one of the things you need to think about is environmental toxins. These are everywhere, and they are affecting so many parts of our body, not just the thyroid, but things like BPA, chlorine, fluoride, phthalates. They're in water bottles, our swimming pools, our toothpaste, our children's toys. They're just everywhere. So really, just that's something we need to think about. At the bottom of this page here, there's a website, the EWG.org, Environmental Working Group. Highly recommend you find them. They have an app. You can use it to get good personal hygiene things like shampoo. You can find cleaning supplies. But if I had one thing to tell you that you could do for environmental toxins to stop immediately, is any kind of synthetic fragrances. They are really tough on our body. Our body does not do well with these. So think about this. You're at the grocery store or Target or Walmart, wherever you shop, and you're looking to buy clothes detergent, for instance. And you're looking at the environmental stuff and you're like, wow, this is great for the environment. I want to do this, but my pocketbook cannot handle this. So what you need to look at is you should rather go for things without the fragrance. Okay. So if you're looking at money and like, what is it? You go, okay, I can't buy the expensive stuff, but I can buy something that doesn't have fragrance in it. That's going to be your best bet. Okay. So there are a lot of things around this. I have whole handouts and stuff I give in my program about this, but this is a really big deal. You want to be checking your synthetic fragrances, those things that plug in the wall. You do not want those. Get those out of your life. You want to pay attention to your kitchen, your cosmetics, the air quality. And this kind of gets expensive. Again, we're talking about that. So keep in mind, as you get rid of things is when you want to bring something new in. So when your toothpaste out, the next time you buy toothpaste, you're going to get your environmental working group app out, and you're going to say, okay, what's the best toothpaste for me to take? So you do these things a little bit at a time. But the one thing you really can do is pull all those synthetic fragrances, get those out of your life. We can always use essential oils, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit here. So how can I help? Well, I help elevate your nutrition. I help identify mineral and hormone deficiencies, and I have a whole body approach. So I have health memberships. There are private coaching calls. Hair tissue and mineral analysis is what I like to use to test the minerals. When we test the minerals through blood, we are looking at things that have been manipulated, and it's manipulated by our body. And how that works is, okay, so for instance, say you get your blood work taken and they say, oh, your calcium levels are great. Well, your calcium levels could be great according to their numbers. However, your body could literally be pulling calcium from the bones. And that's why the calcium in the blood is so good, because your body really tries to keep those minerals in the blood as tight as it can, even if it has to steal from another part of your body. But when we look at hair, we're seeing the last 3 months of your minerals, and we're also seeing any kind of toxins like mercury and other heavy metals that could be hanging out. So we really get a much broader picture of where your minerals are, and it really gives us a good place to start on balancing those minerals, so then we can work on cortisol, insulin, thyroid, and sex hormones. And that's where that hormone heaven framework comes in, where I've got that personalized for you. You also have text availability with me, discounted supplements, and functional testing. And it starts out at just less than $7 a day, and also offer monthly payments and financing. So another option that is available in my program is Grow Baby DNA, which is a genetic test for mom to be. It's designed to help you better understand the functioning of your body, influence the baby's health and your health, can help you come up with diet, supplement, lifestyle things that are very specific to your DNA. So this is another option that I have available. And I just want to thank you for listening to this. I hope you got something healthful out of it. Alternative Health with Angel is my website. You can find me on Instagram at Alt Health Angel. I'm also on LinkedIn. Please come find me. You can come get those electrolyte lists from me. I can give you a list of the thyroid things that you need to get checked, all 7 components of the thyroid. So if you need any help with this, any help getting pregnant or anything like that, definitely get in touch with me. And if you know someone that could this be helpful with, send it their way. Thanks so much for listening.